Back in the early 1950s, when W.D. Gann was distributing his courses on his basic stock market course and his commodities trading course, he also distributed to his students geometric charts for them to use in their calculations. Very much like this one. This is one of his original square of 9 charts that he distributed. Of course, they were in printed format and not of enormous size. So in order to use this chart, you needed to study it very carefully. The principles involved in the square of 9 chart are quite remarkable, but just in order to read the chart, you needed to have a handy magnifying glass in order to see most of the things on the chart, to look at the various relationships between the angles of the chart and the prices. Now, Gann, in his material that he distributed with his courses, mentions the fact that he was also providing plastic overlays to go with the charts in order to help his students determine the geometric angles involved on these mechanical diagrams. And this is what made them essentially analog computers, because you could shift the overlays and look at the different relationships between numbers on the grids on the charts. And of course, he had a number of the different charts, about 4 or 5 of them, that he regularly referred to with his students. And then depending on what markets he was trading, he would sometimes modify the charts accordingly, shifting the price points and so on. Now, Gann's students after his day have continued to want to pursue these same kind of tools, using them as analog computers to try to determine price points. And that's what's led some individuals to produce charts in a much larger format, like this one, for example, here. This is a square of 9. It's part of a set of 4 or 5 Gann wheels that we have access to here. But the thing that's interesting here, of course, is that we have the plastic overlay as well. And you can see underneath what we have here is essentially the square of 9 pattern, and it goes out many, many rows, much more detailed than the chart that we can get on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, obviously. And he also, we have marked on here the key coordinates, the 24 spokes of the wheel that we've talked about before in looking at the Gann dynamics. But then on top of that, there is a movable overlay. And of course, we got a spindle in the middle here. Let me reveal my secret of doing all this. We have a little pad that we put here on the tabletop. It helps anchor the chart down and also prevents that spindle from scarring up the furniture. So the tricks of the trade there we want to reveal. At any rate, what we do then is we use the overlay to adjust the angles. If we're looking at a particular price point, we can line that up consistently, and then we can see where the other increments of that price will come. Now, even though this is a much larger Gann wheel that we're working with, this square of 9 diagram here that we're using with our Gann work, we still need the handy magnifying glass, because even on this scale of chart, the print is very, very fine, and it takes a good eyeball to read it. Fortunately, we have the overlay to help us see the different price increments. And this was the genius of Gann's work, being able to apply not only the grid work that he inherited from the accounting in India that he encountered with some of their magic squares and their calculating devices, but then to be able to apply to that a mechanical protractor, a movable dial that would show the relationships on the underlying diagram in dynamic ways. And so this is why the Gann wheel is such a valuable tool. It empowers us then to be able to work with relationships in a very, very rapid fashion. And we can come up with an analysis and price projections that don't take us very long to derive using this kind of device. Of course, this takes up some space. If you've got 5 of them that you're working with, the hexagon chart and the different configurations of the squares and circles that Gann used, then it can take up a lot of space. And so if you have a lot of space to spread things out, you can use charts of this size, or you can use smaller scale charts. And fortunately, we now have computerized versions of many of the Gann wheels as well. Charts like this and the square of 9 pattern that we have here in this size and this kind of quality are hard to come by. This was done by a group of Gann students. They pooled their money and hired printers to do the precision printing in order to create these specific wheels to be able to facilitate their work at a much higher level. So again, these are not readily available to the general public, but they are tools that if you can get one, by all means, add it to your working toolkit, but don't feel discouraged if you don't have ready access to that, because what we're looking at next are some of the computerized versions of W.D. Gann's Square of 9.